Shalom. Shalom. Praise God. Well, I'm going to try to keep this down to an hour. I'm not used to doing that. But if we run out of time, hope you guys forgive me. You know, we're living in exciting times right now. Really exciting times. A lot of things that's going on. And of course, my brother Sawyer asked that I bring forth certain things concerning what's going on in the world. And I was trying to figure out how we'll go ahead and do that. But if I was to do that and try to get the message, I figured that wouldn't actually work. So what I did, I emailed everybody something. Hopefully it went through, because I had some problems doing that. And so we could follow along, and you could actually have this as your notes later on to go and look at certain things. Well, I'm going to go ahead and start up by asking us to turn over to Matthew 24. And we're going to start reading in verse 3. And the subheading in the book of Yahweh said, the signs of the times and the end of the age. But of course, I want to start there because that's where we are right now. And so, while they were at the Mount of Olives, Yahshua's disciples came to him privately, and they said to him, tell us when these things will be, what will be the sign of your coming and the end of the age? They're asking some questions here. Now Yahshua answered and said to them, and this is where we have to look at certain things, because the very first thing that he said is to be on guard. To be on guard means to guard your mind. And you guard your mind with the word of Yahweh. That's the only thing, that's the only way we guard our minds. So he says, guard your mind. He says, be on guard so that no man deceives you. He didn't say make sure that men don't deceive you. He said make sure no man deceive you. Anyone is to deceive you. So he goes on now, and he's telling you the kind of things that could deceive you. And he says here in verse 5, he says, for many will come against my name, or pretending to have the Spirit of Yahweh, saying I am anointed, and notice, they will deceive many. They will. Because it's a time that people are looking for certain things to happen. Okay? So they will. In verse 6 now, it says, and you will hear of wars and rumors of wars. Now this is part of the deception also. The wars and rumors of wars that we're hearing. You know, if you look at the news at any time, you hear all the chaos that's going on in the nations. You see the Ukraine and Russia, the issues in that area. You see the issues in the China, the South China Sea. You see that the issue down in the Middle East. You know, you see there's issues all in Europe. You see there's the issues all over the place, and you see these nations jockeying like they're about to fight each other. There's a proxy war that's going on right now in Syria. And you have some mercenaries, they call ISIS, and the Free Syrian Army that's fighting against Russia and Iran. And of course, China said they're going to back Russia. Now, this is all for you. This is all part of the deception. This is all for you. They are inciting you, because this is what happens, guys. There are those who you cannot see. Okay? Gods of war that feed on your fear. That's their food. Just like how the word of Yahweh, the food of Yahweh brings you peace. They need something else besides peace for them to be exalted. Yahweh is blessed in your peace, but they are exalted in your fear and in your anxiety. That's where they are. And so they bring this through the nations. They bring this through the nations. Now, so he's talking about the wars and rumors of war, but he tells you something. He says in verse 6 here, he said, see that you are not troubled by those things. You make sure that you're not troubled, because this is a part of deception. Okay? Because these things got to come to pass, because this is all in the plan. But the end is not yet. So these things are coming. For in that time, you're going to see nations rise against nations, kingdoms against kingdoms, not only here in earth, my brother, but it happened in heaven first. These things took place in heaven first, and it's just a manifestation of certain things that you're seeing in the earth. Now, and he talks about the earthquakes that you will see in place after place, the pestilence. All these things are under the control of a certain amount of people that's doing this, and they have received knowledge to bring these things forth in the earth. Now, turn over with me to Revelations 12. Okay, Revelations 12. And we're going to look at verse 7. And it says in verse 7, and there was war in heaven. Micaiah and her Malachim fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought with her angels, but did not prevail, nor was their place found any more in heaven. That's what that says. Now I sent you guys an email, and in the email I got some times and dates, some things, some events that happened. And so I want to bring your attention to July 16th to 24th. I'm sorry, July 16th to the 22nd, 1994. And during this time, July 16th is a Sabbath, or a Saturday, and July 22nd is a Friday. Now, if you remembered, there are 21 comets that crashed into Jupiter during this time. And it was crazy because they said that this started after the Jewish Sabbath, and it's ended right before the Sabbath began again. This is what they said. 21 that plunged into this. Now, if you know, Jupiter is the king planet, and it has a lot of satellites. That means it has control over many things, and it's the biggest body in our solar system. But about 2 years before that, what a lot of people don't tell you is that there was a very, very large planetary system that was passing by Jupiter and got snagged in Jupiter's gravitational pull. And what happened, it broke up into 21 pieces. And each one of those pieces was like about the size of the earth or bigger, if you remember that. And so what it did, these 21 pieces, it took 2 years now, it went around Jupiter, came back, and plunged into this planet one after the other over a period of after the Sabbath to right before the Sabbath. You got to be thinking of something going on right there. You got to be thinking. Something is going on. Now, what happened now, they saw a year later, in July, a year later, they saw a comet. They discovered a comet. And this comet is called Hale-Bopp. I don't know if you remember that. Hale-Bopp, the comet Hale-Bopp. And of course, Hale-Bopp, they discovered this on July 23rd, 1995. And Hale-Bopp, I got these in your email that I sent you. They found a distinct object accompanying Hale-Bopp. Sometimes it was by the side, sometimes it was by the tail. It was all over the place. It wasn't just something that was a natural situation. They said this was a phenomenon that was moving around. Now, on March 13th, let me back up a little bit. on March 23rd, Hale-Bopp passed at its closest point to the Earth. But 10 days before that, something left from that planet. Okay? A few days before that. And on the 13th, I don't know if you guys ever heard of the Phoenix Lights. Okay, if you didn't, I got it in there for you too. They saw, I think it was the Arizona Sun Devils and somebody else was playing football, and a supercraft came over the stadium. They couldn't deny this. Everybody in the stadium looked up. They saw this. And it was there. And it hovered there. And it moved very, very slowly. This is all in what was going on. Now, during that time, you know, the guys, Applegate, that killed himself, you know, during that time. But this was something that was showing everybody that something is going on. Now, so my point to you is there was war in heaven. Something left that region, or in Jupiter, and that thing came down towards the earth here. Now let's look in verse 9 of chapter 12. Okay, it says, and the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, who deceived the whole world. She was cast out into the earth, and her angels were cast out with her. Remember, Micaiah stood up. Now, hold your place right here in Revelations and go over to Daniel. Micaiah stood up. Let's hold your place there and go over to Daniel. And in Daniel chapter 12 also, let's look in verse 1. Now, because it's talking about a certain time also. It says, at that time will Micaiah stand up, the great ruler who stand for the children of your people, and there will be a time of trouble such as never was since there was a nation to that same time. And at that time your people will be delivered, everyone who will be found written in the book of life. Now, sometimes we read that, we think it's a day or a week. But it's a time. It's a period of time that certain things are happening, and they're telling you here, during this time when you see this war happening, and there are other things that's taking place coinciding with that, which is not a coincidence, or should I say it's a coincidence, it coincides with that event. Okay? There are things that are actually going on over this period of time, and we have to make sure that we're paying attention to it. Let's go back over to Revelations 12. Okay? And let's go down to verse 12. Chapter 12 and verse 12. Now I want you guys to remember, this is a long period of time. This is not just a couple of days or a week or a month or a year, because you saw how long it took for those things to break up, get around to Jupiter, hit Jupiter. You saw how long it took for Hale-Bopp, or whatever was accompanying Hale-Bopp, to even pass by the earth, and whatever comes through here. This is time. It's taking time. It's not just in one day. In 12 and verse 12, it says, rejoice, it says, therefore rejoice, O heaven, and you who dwell in them. Because those authorities that were doing certain things, they are being removed out of there. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and the sea, this is the people, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because she knows that she has but a short time. Well, what does this dragon want? Well, if you look at the next verse, the dragon got its eyes on a woman. Excuse me, guys. Folks think that I'm important. And I got one of these dumb phones. Okay. You're not looking at me like, what is that? They still make them things?
Man, is my face that almost?
I get that comment all the time, man. Anyway, okay. Now in verse 13, and when the dragon saw that she was cast into the earth, she is looking for something. She persecuted the woman which brought forth the man, or that brought forth the testimony of the man, or brought forth the man in themselves. Because remember, we talked about the man that you have to put in. Well, if you put this man in and you partake of this man, well, what are you going to be doing? You're going to be doing exactly what the man does. So you're bringing forth that man. Now, this is going around now to pass laws so it could recognize who that man is in. That's why you see these laws are changing now. You see the homosexual laws that's coming up. Because, of course, that's an abomination to Yahweh. Yahweh's not going there. And these cats are not going left or right. They're going to stay on what their father told them to do. They're going to stay where Yahshua said. Because that's how they're going to link with their father. They're not going left or right. They're following the Lamb wherever the Lamb goes. No place else. So now, this is the situation that we're having. Now, they came forth into the earth, and they have to get this all over the place now. Now, let's go to Revelation 16. And we're going to look at Revelation 16, and we're going to see what these guys are doing. But Yahweh's behind all this stuff right here. Yahweh has a great way of allowing things to move in a particular way just to bring judgment upon a situation. So Yahweh knows exactly what's going on, and nothing is outside of our control. Nothing. Now let's go to Revelation 16, and let's look at verse 13. Now it says, and I saw 3 unclean spirits like frogs come out of the mouth of the dragon. Okay. Out of the mouth of the beast. And out of the mouth of the false prophet. The dragon is the one who is cast out of heaven. But the dragon is putting something into the beast. And the beast is bringing this thing forth too. And it's putting something into the false prophet. And the false prophet is bringing something forth too. Now let's look at who it's going to. Because see, there are elites. Okay? And there are sub-elites. And the dragon is using everybody, it doesn't matter, to bring forth the dragon's bidding. They're all pawns. As long as the dragon gets to do what the dragon is wanting to do. They're all pawns. But they don't know that. Because they've been given promises. So here we go now. And it says for in verse 14, for they are spirits of demons who perform signs, who go forth to the kings of the earth. That means these are individuals who are all over the world who are ruling nations. And if they go to the heads of these nations, they're telling them something. They're giving them the same message that they got, because this is what you need to do. This is happening right now, or it has happened. So he goes to the inhabitants, he goes to the kings of the whole inhabited earth to gather them to the battle of that great day of Yahweh Almighty. So I don't want you to look at the day of Yahweh, that great day yet. I want you to look that these demons are going to the kings of the earth. And they're infecting the kings of the earth. You see it right now. This whole global thing that we're looking at, even the Nasara and the Jasara that we're looking at, is all part of this. Now, let's go over to 1 Kings. I'm going to show you how Yahweh does this, and I'm pretty sure you guys know this already. 1 Kings, and we're going to go to chapter 22. Because what you're seeing there in Revelations, it's nothing new. Yahweh does this all the time. He allows us to move through all the times. In chapter 22, let's look at in verse 19. It says, Micaiah continued, therefore hear the word of Yahweh. I saw Yahweh sitting on his throne, and all the hosts of heaven standing around him, on his right hand and on his left. Now, something you gotta know. We gotta, the kingdom of Yahweh is vast. It encompasses everything. Yahweh's in the third heavens, and it's set up that you have captains that's over broods of captains that's over thousands of captains, millions of captains, and they're all sons. And they have the authority to take Yahweh's name because they don't go to the left or the right of Yahweh either. So sometimes when you see Yahweh coming before somebody, it's not talking about Yahweh in the third heavens. But it's talking about Yahweh's sons, who has the authority to bring forth what he has bidden for to go forth throughout the universe or wherever. He's going to go sector 6, sector 7, wherever. And you have the same thing. Because they all have thrones. Just like David has thrones, just like Solomon had thrones, same thing in the earth. And if you bring forth the word of Yahweh, heaven comes to the earth. Or that which is in heaven is bound or shut or sealed, whatever, it comes to the earth too, if you're doing that thing. Now, so you have these, and this is what's happening right here. It says, then Yahweh said, what will entice Ahab to go up so he may fall? You see that? Bringing him to the great battle so he may fall. At Ramoth Gilead. One gave this suggestion, one gave another suggestion. In verse 21, then a spirit, because just as the demons were subject to Yahshua and followed his instruction, it's no different with Yahweh. They said, you're the son of Yahweh. Okay, please don't do this. And, and Yahshua will like, shh, quiet. They had to listen to that. Go here. Don't destroy us before our time. Go there. Whatever. They did it. Because he had authority. He brought heaven to the earth in himself. He had that authority. And these right here got the same authority when it's given. Because those sons of Yahweh give all the elementals their bidding too. They have that authority. The same authority. So it says here, then a spirit came forward and stood in front of Yahweh and said, I will lower him. Same thing you got going on right now, guys. It's happening right now. So Yahweh asked her, how will you do this? She replied, I will go out and I will be a lion spirit. Remember the other one? 3 frogs like 3 frogs? Unclean spirits, lion spirits, unclean spirits. Get the connection. Lion spirits, unclean spirit. It's one and the same. Okay? In the mouth of all his prophets, and Yahweh said, you will entice him. Go and do what I say. Go ahead and do it. And you will succeed. Go and do it. Let's go back over to Revelations. I'm going to read this one again in verse 13. And I saw 3 unclean spirits. Now, just think about what happened before this, because the unclean spirits can't do nothing except Yahweh said. Yahweh allows this. It cannot do anything. So think about what gave them the authority to move now. And what they're moving to do. To bring judgment on Ramah, Gilead. But look at this one now. You might as well call it the same thing. For they are spirits of demons, unclean. They're going to tell you a lie. And the reason why the lie is going to actually succeed is because I haven't been listening to what Yahweh said. That's the only reason it's going to succeed. If I listen to the word of Yahweh, it can't succeed. Because Yahweh is going to be your shield and buckler. But if I don't listen to Yahweh, then Yahweh is going to allow the strong delusion. Which is what he does. Why? He turns me over to a reprobate mind. A mind that's rejecting correction. That's all it's doing. If I'm rejecting his correction, which he shows in his word, do this, do that, don't do this, don't do that, make sure this is done, and make sure it's done this way. If I'm denying that, then I'm rejecting the correction. Because I'm the one that needs to be corrected. I have a mind in me that I see that and I won't. I see that and I won't. I see that great thing over here and I don't want. But Yahweh says you should have this and you should not have that and you should not have that. So I got to make sure that I listen to that. But if I go ahead and do what I want to do, I have resisted and rejected that. Well, I got something coming to me. That's all it is. I got something coming to me. And it's no different with these guys. That's how Yahweh does it. So, we look here now, and we see that these unclean spirits, the same thing we just got looking at in Kings, man. Same thing, same thing. Now, let's go to Revelation 6. Revelation 6. Now, these kings, they come in. And they're going to bring certain things to the inhabitants of the earth as we just got them looking at. And let's look in chapter 6. And let's look in verse 1. And this says, and I saw when the Lamb opened one of the seals. And I heard as it were one of the 4 living creatures saying, as with a voice like thunder, come and see. And I looked, and behold, a white horse. He who sat upon it had a bow and a crown. A bow is a weapon, and a crown is authority. So this was given to him. And he went out conquering and to conquer. I want you to hold there, or remember what I just got done saying there, hold that, and turn over to Daniel 11. Daniel 11. And we're going to look at 40. I'm sorry, 11 and 40. Chapter 11 and verse 40. And we look here, we see the same thing. It says, and at the time of the end. At the time of the end. So it's something that is in the same period now. The king of the south will push at him, and the king of the north will come against him like a whirlwind, with chariots and horsemen, or bow, if you want to say, and with many ships. He will invade countries and overthrow and sweep through them like a flood. Arab Spring, Iraq, Afghanistan. This is like a flood, guys. They had no chance, man. It was just like a flood take over something. It just sweeps it away. They had no chance. No chance. And they called it Arab Spring. Remember that? And they did this in there. And they had authority to do it. They're serving the gods of war. They had this authority to do this. And they had great technology to back them up. And these are guys couldn't match. Now, let's look at verse 4, Daniel. I mean, that's verse 4. Yeah, verse 4 of chapter 12 of Daniel. And you look here, it says, but you, O Daniel, shut up the words and seal the book to the time of the end. He says, many will run to and fro, and knowledge will be increased. Technology is going to be increased too. Spiritual knowledge, worldly knowledge, all kind of knowledge. People are going to wake up. Because remember, they wake up some to everlasting content, some to everlasting righteousness. It's just what they choose to do with it when they wake up. You know? Because they're going to be strong delusions then too. So you see that knowledge is going to be increased. And these gods that came down gave man knowledge. They seeded them with this, man. Harp, CERN. This is stuff that's been seeded to mankind. So they could play God. You know, chemtrails, all this stuff. Great technology. And more of it is coming out. If you heard about the Nasara and the Jasara stuff, you heard them say technology that has been held back for a long time is coming forth. Well, man, you got to think about the situation. They're giving man stuff. We're getting stuff now more than we've ever had it before. Over 5,500 years, you had mankind who couldn't get past a horse and buggy. All of a sudden, they're sending stuff to Mars. Think about it. Something is going on. But we're like frogs, man, in the hot pot, bro. Because all they got us doing is thinking about our day-to-day activities. That's all they got. They got the big master plan going on, and they cast something over there, and we start going after that. And they got the big master plan going over there, and after we get that, we come back, they go over there, we go get that. That's what they got going on. But Yahweh's saying, listen here, wake up. Don't chase these fads and fables that's all over the place. They're going to attach themselves to your emotions and get you caught in a place you don't want to get caught. Yahweh said, man, meditate upon my words day and night. Keep this at the forefront because this is going to guard you when the wicked one comes. This is going to guard you. Pokemon Go is taking you there. Trust me. Pokemon is taking you there to the slaughter. These fast girls and fast cars, they got something. They're taking you. Now you see they got all these drugs now, and they tell you, brother, they tell you, right on the TV, you take this, you see everybody smiling and have a good time when they're taking it, man, and then they tell you after it's all right by the end of the commercial. You take this, you may die, your hair may fall out, just like me. Okay, your nose will split apart. You know, you also you grow hooves. It's telling you all kind of stuff. It's telling you this is going to have an adverse reaction on you. Then the one that they give you for that adverse reaction is giving you a whole bunch more, toxifying you because they're depopulating the earth with the war, with the drugs, with the disease, all that. They're just killing the people. People don't see it though, because they cast that over there and we chase that. When you come back, they threw that one over there and we chase that. All insignificant things that don't matter. It has nothing to do with your life, your peace, your prosperity, your being in Yahweh. It has nothing to do with that. It's just distractions. make sure that no man deceives you. That's what he said. Make sure no man deceives you. So we see that technology is coming, man. That's why I decided to opt for the dumb phone and not to get for the smartphone. You know, I went for the dumb phone. My family tried to tell me, Daddy, you got to upgrade. Don't curse me. Please don't curse me. They said, Daddy, when I go out and get you one of these phones, I stopped talking to them. You really ain't saying nothing else because I'm not going there. I go to the store, the phone rings, I pull it out, they hide because they don't want to see that shit. I pull it out, I start looking. Who is it? Hello? They're like, oh, they go to another aisle. Shame is upon the family now for Daddy's phone. But I opt for this phone. I had one even more ancient than this, man. The screen was black and white. And if the mower didn't kill it, I'll have it today. But it fell out my pocket and the mower killed it. If that wasn't the situation, they'd be moving 5 or 6 hours down when I pull that thing out. But anyway, not to get off. Okay, so let's go back to Revelation 6 here. Okay, Revelation 6. So we see this first one right here, and this one could conquer and go by conquering. And we see it happening, guys. We don't just see it happening, we saw that it happened. We saw it occur. Okay, in 3, Revelations 3, it says the result of mankind's government here. In chapter 6 and verse 3, it says, and when he had opened the second seal, I heard the second creature say, come see. And there went another horse that was red, and power was granted to him who sat upon it to take peace from the earth, and that they should kill one another. And there was given to him a great sword. This is happening right now too. You look in Aleppo, Syria, you look at all the terrorist attack that has spread now since they got out of these nations. It's in Europe, it's in Indonesia, it's in China, it's in Russia, it's here, and it's just started. Peace is being taken from the earth. They're going to scare the crap out of everybody. That's what they're going to do with it. And they're telling you about it right now. Start getting scared. You hear the guys in France, okay? They're telling their people, listen, we're going to do something we have to live with now. You have the people in Germany telling their people that they need to prepare for this stuff. They have Czech Republic telling their people the same thing. They're telling their people to prepare for what is going to be their day-to-day activity and what they have to be looking out for now. Peace being taken away from them. This is what it's talking about. And it's all in this time. All in this time. If we go over to continue going down a little bit to 5. It says, and when he had opened the third seal, I heard the third creature say, come and see. And I looked, and behold, a black horse. And he that sat upon it, it had a pair of scales in his hands. And I heard a voice in the midst of the 4 living creatures saying, a measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny, and see that you don't hurt the oil and the wine. Now this is a time of plenty, guys. They want to give us things. This is where Jasara and Nasara comes in. And we have to be very careful how we try this line right here. Because they're going to give you things. They're going to give you things. This is where it's at. Now, let's go over to 2 Thessalonians. We're going to come back to Revelation, but let's go over to 2 Thessalonians really quickly. 2 Thessalonians, and let's look at chapter 2, and we'll start at verse 3. It says, let no man deceive you by any means. For that day will not come unless there comes a falling away first. They have to do this. They can't get confusion in you. They can't open the gate of the gods unless they move you from your Father. Because remember, the knowledge of the kingdom of Yahweh, it binds. It shuts up. No one can enter in. Remember, yes, Asaya was telling us about the keys yesterday. Okay? And how do they get that? They get you to lose the knowledge. The people are destroyed for the lack of the knowledge. Because when you have knowledge, you lock up everything if you get the knowledge of Yahweh. He said, if you have the faith of Yahweh, you say anything and it's going to be happening. If you got the faith of Yahweh as much as a mustard seed. We don't even have that. He's telling you how powerful your source is. That's very powerful. But for them to do certain things, they have to remove you from the knowledge of Yahweh. It's the only way they're going to come in. Because if you got the key, you're going to shut them out. Because you have the power. You simply have the power to shut them out. If my wife was here, she'd be looking at me right now, because last time she told me I need to be looking over there. I keep coming over here, so I have it though. I need to be over there. Okay. I'm going to look over there now. Make sure that. Okay. So here goes now. Let no man deceive you by enemies, for that day will not come unless there comes a falling away first, and that servant of sin, it's a servant that's going to make sure that the people are going to love sin. Because it's going to bring it to you, and you can do all that you want to do. We're going to still give you whatever you want. Anything you want, go ahead. Just break the laws of Yahweh and make this place very blasphemous. So we could win this. So here we go now. In verse, in 3 still. The servant of sin is revealed, the son of perdition, who opposes and exalts himself above all that is called gods, or that is worshipped, so that he, as the Almighty, sits in the temple of Yahweh, showing himself that he is the Mighty One. Before sitting in the real temple, he gonna sit in the people's temple, because this is the temple of Yahweh too. Okay, Yahweh uses whoever he wants to bring certain things past. He used people to cleanse you and me. He's going to use them the way he feels to use them. At the end of everything else, he turns you over to help them to get to where he needs them to get. And he's dwelling them in the same manner. And he'll use you after they cleanse you to cleanse them. I'm still looking over here. Okay. So now, here we are now. Let's move down to verse 6. This is the son of perdition, guys. The son of perdition. Okay? And the son of perdition knows his job. But he has to be revealed. And now you know what is restraining him now, so that he may be revealed in his time. So things couldn't happen before a particular time, because he was restrained up until a certain time, until everything was set in its place for certain things to move forward. For the mystery of iniquity is already working, and it's been working for a long, long time. When these guys are writing, it was already going on. They're telling you right there. He says the mystery of iniquity is already working. It was already working already before they even put a pen to start writing on parchment or ink, whatever they did. It was already working, and it's working today. Even more so. But the one restraining him will continue to restrain him until he's made to appear in the midst. In the midst. In the midst of a very, very troublous time. And then that lawless one will be revealed in a particular time. Now, it could be our buddy the pontiff that's already revealed, but hasn't been revealed that everybody will know. But the pontiff is behind Josiah, guys. The pontiff gave an encyclical. I sent that to you. That's part of what I sent to you guys. And in this encyclical is exactly what these folks need to do, and they need to bring this forth through this climate change deal that's being spread all over. And they intend to control the people's minds, or control the people and all resources with this. And what you see going on right now is just the beginning. Because it's our fault why there's climate change. We're the ones going to be blamed for it. And we got to change our lives, or God is going to be very upset. That's what the encyclical is telling us. There's going to be drastic changes. Economically, he says he's going to remove poverty from the earth. Well, how do you think they're going to do it? Because everybody's going to get some of this money. Everybody that they're talking about. Everybody is going to get some. I'm trying to look over here. I don't know what's wrong. I'm going to crick in my neck. Okay? Everybody's going to get some of this. It's going to be given. So this is something that we got to look at. As we move through this, we have to be very careful, because here's something that Yahweh tells us. Let's continue looking at this, guys. Okay. Let's go down to verse 9. He says, whose coming will be according to the energy of Satan. This is Yeshua's appearance now. Who works with all power and sign and lying wonders. This is the deceptive one. And with all the deceivableness of sin in those who are perishing. Now, perishing is not talking about just dying. It's talking about when me and you walk away from Yahweh and die. That's why he's telling you, listen here, make sure you tell the children of Israel these things so they don't die in their sins. That's perishing. That's what is happening when you perish. These are perishing because they're doing the same thing. They're delighting in doing the evil thing. That's what they're doing. Okay, so it says, and with all deceivableness of sin, these laws that are being passed right now, guys, in those who are perishing, those who are going to delight in it, because they did not receive the love of the truth that they might be saved. When you say, listen here, Yahweh says this, they don't want to hear that. Yahweh says this, yeah, but the Pope says this. And they just made this a law, so don't you come hating at me. I'm going to turn you in. You leave them alone. If they're willing to hear you, you speak. If they're not willing to hear you, you let them go. Okay? Their day comes. That they may be saved. And for this reason, when we don't do it, man, when we don't do what Yahweh says to do, for this reason, whether it's a lot of transgressions or a little bit of transgression, it has its reward. Just like, the man who does that which is required by the law, that's a blessing to that man. Whatever he does, that's a blessing. If he does it by habit, that's a blessing to him, period. Even if he doesn't know. He's simply getting a blessing. But these cats right here, for this reason, Yahweh will send strong delusion. Strong. that they would believe the deception, that the son of perdition, the man of sin, has come and is listening with those frogs and is pushing out to the kings of the earth, and the kings of the earth is changing the laws and attacking folks, doing all these things. It's all under the same thing. You and I got to see this because we can't become part of that. We can't become part of that. We have to see it, and we have to tread lightly and make sure that we're not detected. Because we can't act stupid either. We can't go there, here I am. We can't do that. That's tempting Yahweh. We got to be smart. Wise as a serpent, harmless as a dove. We have to do the serpent-dove routine. Okay, so here we go now. In verse 12. In order that all those who will be judged as not having believed the truth, but having delighted in sin, in an errant way. This is what this is bringing to mankind right now. So we have this implementation of this thing. Now, let's go back over to Revelations here. Revelations. And we're going to look at Revelations 8. And what I want you to know, because this part is coming up, guys. You know, whether they do it by earthquake, whether they do it by EMP, you know, and you're out of electricity for 120 days, okay? Whether they do it by a terrorist attack, whatever, they're going to bring this right, what we're looking at right here in verse 7 and 8. But look at this now, verse, or vaccines, whatever, because they're ramping that up now. They create a disease, and they create another one, and they create another one, and they say we're going to fast track getting the Ebola vaccine, we're going to fast track getting the Zika vaccine. Man, there are diseases, man, forget about it. They're all, if you look at that report, they're all kind of diseases. I never knew stuff like that. Never knew. I thought they were joking. But they ain't. Okay, so in 8 here, it says, I look and behold a pale horse. And the name of him who sat upon it was Death, and Sheol. The grave followed him, and power was given to him over a fourth part of the earth to kill with the sword, 1, and with hunger, 2, and with pestilence, 3. Notice what it says next. The same has a handler. It's under the authority of this beast that stuff went out of his mouth. That them frogs, the unclean spirit went out. It's under authority. They have authority to do this. Because they have received all this great knowledge. They could do all the bioengineering now. They got all that. That's what's going on. We're living it right now. This is a serious thing. We're living this. We're living this right now. Okay, let's go over to 16. Chapter 16. And let's look at verse 12. 16, verse 12. It says, and the sixth Malach poured out his bowl upon the great river Euphrates and its water. And it's not talking about the river, guys. It's not talking about that. It's talking about a system that these guys use to bring in corruption. Okay? It's a system of evil that brings in a certain kind of increase for certain people. This is what it's doing. And the water is the source of it. Now, right now, you have the Khazarians and the white dragons. Excuse me again. These folks. They have the Khazarians and the white dragons. They're all pawns under this system. And the Khazarians, right now, they are, Revelations talk about them as a beast also. A beast that's going to lose their power before the rest of the beasts later on lose theirs. But they're going to lose theirs because they've been running things for a long time in these secret societies for a very long time under these demonic forces. They've been doing this for the eons. The white dragon's been doing it too. It just have come to a time now that Yahweh has, just like in the Tower of Babel, Yahweh has messed up the language, which is messed up their purpose. They don't have the same purpose no more. And this is what it has come to. So you have one that's moving against the other at this point, but one believes that it's going to win. And of course, that's the Jesuits and the papacy. And the Pope is not the man. Not the man. The man you won't even see. The Pope is listening to who the Pope is supposed to be listening to. Those who are running the deal, you never hear about them. We don't hear about them. No, we don't. And we're not going to until a certain time. But anyway, so he says right here, this happened, okay? And this is happening right now. Or it's at the final part of it right now, to prepare the kings of the East. To prepare an economic king and a military king. Russia and China. But these guys are getting a spanking, and it's all under the plan. It's all part of the plan. Britain didn't go down just because something happened and there was a war and it just lost its power, its influence, and the United States came up. No, this was planned. This is a plan. The United States coming down and you have an economic power coming up in Asia, it's planned. The people who are patriotic over here, they're trying to fight, well, it's not going to happen. It's going to go the way that these guys said to go. It's going to go because Yahweh has put that in their hands for a time. And to fight against them will be fighting against your father because he gave them the power. There's nothing you can do. Just keep on reverencing Yahweh. That's all. Just keep on reverencing your father because they're nothing you can do with those guys because Yahweh gave them the power. He gave them the power. That's what they're going to be doing. They're doing exactly what has been put in them to do at this point. Exactly. Now, let's go over to Daniel. Daniel 7. Daniel 7. It says, I beheld then, because of the voice of the words which the horn spoke. Now this horn is the same horn that sits upon many nations, or sits upon the beast, and who the whole nation is followed after. And because of the words that this particular horn spoke, okay, I beheld the beast was slain and his body destroyed and given to the burning flame because of what this horn spoke. But if you look at the next verse, you see that everything didn't come to an end. He says, as concerning the rest of the beast, they had their governments taken away, or should I say, diminished, but not totally gone. This is happening in our earth right now. Right now. Now let's go over to Revelation 13. And let's look at verse 1. No, I think I skipped hold your place right there in Revelations, and let's go over to Daniel 11. Daniel 11, I'm sorry. Daniel 11. So we're coming down now, we just got done reading. These guys, they sweep through many nations like a flood. They're doing their thing. In verse 44 here, it says, but tithing out of the east and out of the north will trouble them. Therefore they will go forth with great fury to destroy and utterly annihilate many. Not everybody, many. Utterly annihilate many. Now we just got to reading that scripture that's telling you about the pale horse, that they have this thing here that they're going to deal with a fourth, with the sword, with pestilence, right? And I forgot the other one. I mean, you guys know what I'm talking about though. Okay? This is what it's doing. It's going to, it gets backed into a corner and it's going to let things go. This is already written. No one is going to stop it. Now Yahweh is very merciful. And if man turns, Yahweh will relent. He showed it many times. He will relent from bringing calamity over here and over there if man turns. But these guys believe that they got it because those unclean spirits have given them promises too. They got promises too. Promises that they don't think that Yahweh is going to give them. Or that they don't know that Yahweh will give them because they want it right now. Because see, there's certain lust that's within them. The greed, man. All them things, man, that Yahweh says you need to get out of you. 7 nations larger and stronger than you live in you. And Yahweh removes them out of you when you do what he says. That's how you go in and possess the land. The land is what you're influenced by. That's how you go in. You possess the land because you're influenced by this. But to possess the land, you have to get rid of these 7 nations that's more powerful than me and you unless you have your father. We're not getting rid of them. You're going to find us still lusting, still envying, still going to church on Sunday and killing somebody on Monday. We're going to still be doing the same thing. Sunday night.
Yeah, right after service.
Right after, there you go. In the parking lot, right? Same thing happening. So here goes now in 13. And I stood upon the sand of the sea and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his head the name of blasphemy. And it tells you what it's like here now. But if you go keep on reading and then you get over, okay, let's look at that guy right there, and we're gonna attribute that guy to Revelation 17, and look at verse 3. Okay, because that beast right there in Revelation 17 and verse 3, those are the same guys. He says, so he carried me away in the spirit into the midst of the God worshippers. And I saw a woman sitting on a scarlet-colored beast, full of the names of blasphemy. Blasphemy, look here. And it says, having 7 heads and 10 horns. It's the same one that's over here. Same one. And I stood, and I saw, okay, this beast, having 7 heads, 10 horns, okay, and on these horns, blasphemy. Same one. Okay. Now, if we go to 13, We go to verse 11. We see another beast. This ain't the same beast that's in 17 and 13, 17:3 and 13:1 to 10. This is another beast. This beast now came about the earth and had two horns like a lamb, but spoke like a dragon. This is the one that's going down right now with the Khazarians. That's what's going down right now. The Western world. United States, all these cats right here, this is who it is. And they have two horns, their democratic system and their other system that they do, and power is all there, that they control everything through these, but they're doing the same thing, brothers. They're just working us. They're working us with the Republican Party and the Democratic Party, or the Labour Party and the other one. Wherever you go, they got these parties that's going on. But they're working the people. Because it doesn't matter who wins, they're furthering the agenda. It doesn't matter who wins. But the people are going out and voting, thinking they're going to change something. No, they are not. Because these guys are controlling everything. No, and he's exercising authority, and he's telling people to do a certain thing. This is another one. This is the beast that is slain. The other one is not slain. Not yet. Because they have already determined for this one to come down. You already seen it. Because the United States dollar is off the petro now. It's no longer there. All the dollars, all the money is based upon assets today. All of it. And this gives the so-called developing nations, it gives their currency the power to get more powerful. And all of a sudden, China has the most powerful influence in this global currency. This is the first part of the global currency that they're going to put together. And China has the biggest influence on it now. Not the United States. But they're not dropping the United States all at once. They're doing it over time. Well, here goes, it was in 1972, Nixon takes this off the gold standard, and of course the dollar starts losing its value. This is time, it's over time. And the people are like frogs. Slowly but surely, because the beast is very subtle. More subtle than any other beast that Yahweh has made. Subtle means hard to detect. Hard to detect. It's not easy to detect that. Just like that frog in that pot can't detect that it's getting hotter. He just gets hot enough and just see him float. He never detected it. Just floating. After a while, he's just floating. This is happening in front of us right now. And we got to think about what's there. We can't give ourselves over to it. It's happening right now. There's war in heaven, and now they have come to the earth. They have given us much. That's why you saw in New York City that ship over the Hudson River Parkway over there. Saint enforcer. They're going to enforce things. They're going to do it. Now, that's another thing that a whole bunch of people saw. And they're going to disclose to you a Savior. Before long, they're going to disclose to you a Savior. Straight off of Jupiter. They're going to disclose it to you. Came down here now, just massaging everybody, boy, getting you nice and ready. You go, yeah. Ooh. Give it to you now. Now you're ready. You're all nicely massaged, ready for it. They're about to give this to us. And so we have to make sure that we take steps carefully. Because that's what Yahweh says. He says, be careful to do this. Be careful. That's what he says. Be careful. Of course, Yahweh opened your eyes to understand what the laws that Moshe set up are saying. And when you come to it, he's still telling you the same thing. Be careful to follow this. Don't go to the left are to the right. Any place else is the broad and narrow way. And that's all I got to say.
Praise
Thank you very
God.
much.